Hello, Ravens. Today we're going to write a claim paragraph to support an inference with evidence and a really good explanation. I'm going to assume that you have read this passage from Granted. This is the first chapter of the book. And if you haven't, please pause the video and read it. And then over here, read the directions, step 1, 2, 3, and 4. When you're done, resume the video. So I've decided to choose the claim that Ophelia is a bit of a perfectionist. I've followed step 1, I've circled my claim, and now I'm going to step 2, I'm going to highlight or underline 3 pieces of evidence that support my chosen claim. These 3 pieces of evidence I'm going to make green, and over here I've selected them. Her hair was brushed, of course, her bangs pinned back, her uniform pressed, buttons polished, collar cinched so tight it was hard to swallow. Her boot showed little signs of wear. So that's one of my pieces of evidence. Here's another one. She was always prepared, that she worried over every minor detail. And 3, when she was born, she looked at her founder and immediately brushed the pollen grains off his shoulder. They bothered her sitting there, impertinent and messy. Next, I'm going to put a star next to the one piece that I want to work with because it's the very best. And I put my star over here on the middle one. She's always prepared. She worried over every minor detail. Okay. And step 4 now is to write my claim paragraph. So I'm going to use this claim. She's a bit of a perfectionist. And this middle piece of evidence right here. And now my job is to write a paragraph explaining why this sentence of evidence helps support my claim that she's a perfectionist. So now I'm going to my second page and I'm going to write my claim paragraph. I'm going to start by copying my claim exactly from the other side. Ophelia is a bit of a perfectionist. Okay, that's exactly my claim. And now I'm going to go down to my evidence and I'm going to copy my textual evidence from the text. When I'm looking for textual evidence, I really mean copying the exact word. So I am simply going to copy and paste that evidence and put it down here under my evidence portion of my claim paragraph. I'm going to put it between quotation marks because it's exact words of the text. And then I have my citation because it's from a text by John Anderson. Okay, so now I have my evidence there. Okay, that's the exact quote. Okay. Now I'm going to go back and figure out what I need to introduce the evidence. I said Ophelia was a bit of a perfectionist. And then my quote is she's always prepared, that she worried over every minor detail. I need to give a little bit of information about what's happening right before or when the quote is taking place. Who is Ophelia? What's happening? So I'm going to go to the second page where I'm going to write my claim paragraph. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put my claim exactly as it was on the other side, right here in number 1. My claim is that Ophelia is a bit of a perfectionist. And I've just copied it directly into the claim sentence section. Next, I'm going to get the evidence. And when I say I'm using textual evidence, I'm going to copy it exactly from the text. So I'm just going to go up here and I'm going to copy and paste the evidence that I'm going to use, and I'm going to put it down here in between the quotation marks and say right here, she was always prepared, that she was worried over every minor detail. I'm going to make that my evidence right here. And I have a citation. It's by author Anderson on page 1. So now I have my evidence and my claim in. So I missed the word there. Now my job is to go back and introduce the evidence. If I said to you, Ophelia is a bit of a perfectionist, that she was always prepared, that she worried over every minor detail, you would say, what? So what we need to do is figure out in one sentence, or maybe two, what's happening right before or when this quote is taking place. What does the reader need to know to understand what she's worried about? So in one sentence, what's happening right before when the quote is taking place? Well, I think you need to know who Ophelia is and what she's doing. So I'm going to say, Ophelia is a fairy who's getting dressed for her work as a grantor. Now I need to make a little connection to this quotation because my quotation isn't a full sentence. So how am I going to say that she was always prepared? I'm going to start back and I'm going to say, after describing her efforts to look her best, the narrator says that she was always prepared, that she worried over every minor detail. If I read this all together, it should flow. After describing her efforts to look her best, the narrator says that she was always prepared, that she worried over every minor detail. That sounds like a grammatical sentence to me. My first job over here in the explanation analysis paragraph, which is going to be 4 to 6 sentences long, is to explain what the evidence says in my own words. So I'm going to go down here to my evidence and I'm going to paraphrase it. I'm going to say it again in my own words. What does this really mean? What's going on? And I'm going to say that that sentence means to me that Ophelia plans ahead and tries to make sure everything is done just right. The next step is really the most crucial step here. You're supposed to choose specific words or phrases that are important and explain how they support the claim. You may say, I already did that. This whole phrase, my evidence that I chose, is the important phrase. But I really want you to go deeper and dig into the exact words that the author chose to use here. And I want you to say, this word makes me think. Or when it says, and just a word or two, it makes me think. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to look at the exact words. I'm going to skip she's always prepared, although I could do it with this. But I'm going to go to the fact that she worried over every minor detail. And I'm going to go word by word and say, what if that word were different? When we're analyzing something, we're looking at how these words together create a picture. And if I change any one of them, like a puzzle, I take out one piece, I can say, does the picture change? If when I take that word away or change it, the overall picture changes, then I can say that word was important to the overall understanding. So if I want to say the fact that she's worried over every minor detail shows she's a perfectionist, I might say, is the word worried important? What if I change that to she thought about every minor detail? Does that make her more or less of a perfectionist, or does it not change things? I think I would say that if she just thought about it instead of worrying, that she wouldn't be as much of a perfectionist. So I think the fact she worries is important to my thinking that it's really, she's sort of over the top and trying to make everything perfect. I'm also going to look at these words, every minor detail. What if instead of every detail, she only cared about some of the details or none of the details? Would that make her less of a perfectionist? If so, then the word every is important here. She cares about every single detail. Let's look at minor. What if she didn't just care about minor details? What if she only cared about major details? Would that be different? I think so. The fact that they're minor, that they're small, maybe trivial, that's part of being a perfectionist. And also the fact that they're details. We're not talking about the big picture. She's sweating the small stuff. So, I might say this. The word worried makes me think. And I am using this phrase. The word blank makes me think. That's why it's in italics here. The word, quote, worried makes me think that she doesn't just think about details. She really cares a lot about getting them right. They're important enough to make her stressed or anxious. Also, and now I'm going to pick a different detail. I'm still talking about this evidence over here in number 3. Also, when it says every minor detail, it makes me realize, that's my sentence starter here, that she cares about every single bit. She can't let go of anything. And because she worries about, quote, minor details, it makes me realize she's not focused on the big picture. She even cares about getting the small stuff right. Okay, now I need to tie it all together. This evidence helps me understand that Ophelia may consider small things more important than other people do. She wants everything to be perfect. Now, I might be able to stop here because I've already gotten to perfect, and what I'm trying to show is she's a perfectionist. I want to make sure that by the end of my claim paragraph, I have returned to the idea that she's a bit of a perfectionist. I want to make sure I've kind of nailed the idea that this evidence proves her perfectionism, or at least supports it, because there's lots of other evidence to use too. But I'm just trying to show how this one piece shows she's perfect. And I'm still just going to, maybe this is a little over the top, but I'm going to put one final clincher sentence to wrap it up. Someone who wants everything perfect all the time, which is what I've said she wants up here, someone who wants everything perfect all the time is a perfectionist. So I set out to prove she was a perfectionist. I've given you evidence. I've explained why that evidence makes me think she's trying to be perfect. And then I've kind of wrapped it up at the end. That's your goal in a claim paragraph. We gave you this format with all these boxes, especially this 3-part box for the explanation on your test to really help you break it down. But I want you to remember that really all these sentences go together to form a claim paragraph. We started over here with writing a claim paragraph with these elements. And you saw on the other side of this worksheet that you got, a paragraph that showed Ophelia as an overachiever. I'm going to go back and look at that. I've basically just written all the sentences together, both for the claim that Ophelia is a bit of a perfectionist on the bottom here, and also for Ophelia might be an overachiever up here, which was the other one that I demonstrated for you. And I've just written all the lines together instead of putting it in that format, separating each section. I've run it all together. And so the claim is yellow. Here's my claim. The introducing evidence is purple, etc. And you can see it should just read together like a paragraph. Ophelia might be an overachiever. Ophelia is a fairy who grants wishes. The narrator describes Ophelia as the youngest ever to graduate from the academy. Top marks, a certified field agent at the age of 4. Then I have my citation. Ophelia was a good student who tried to be her best. That's my restatement. Now I'm going to point to specific words from the text. The fact she got, quote, top marks makes me think that she worked really hard to be better than anyone else. When it says she was the youngest ever to graduate, it makes me think she went above and beyond others her age so that she could prove that although she was young, she could accomplish a lot. This evidence makes me understand how determined Ophelia was to achieve more than her classmates. Anyone who's trying to be better than anyone else could be considered an overachiever. Okay? So the whole thing should read together like that. Good luck.